Mark, welcome back. You look great.
Thank you.
We have a lot to get into because...
You know what? Just to start out, I wanted to get a selfie with Julianne Moore, and I'm just standing back there like an idiot, and she went out the other door.
It rotates. You come from the curtain.
Like I'm standing there like, here she comes, and they're like, oh no, she left.
But dude, she was told that you had your phone out ready for a selfie.
I told her before.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we do a selfie? She's like, yeah. And I'm like standing there like, I don't even know why I'm here now.
Hey, to see me, to say hi to me.
Hey, buddy.
We're friends.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
She's great though, right?
Well,
all right,
she's gone. She left the building.
All right. Are you all right?
I'm doing great.
Okay,
buddy. It's always good to see you. You look good. I have to get into this with you because WTF, your podcast, which is groundbreaking, is going away.
It is.
You're ending your podcast
after 16 years. Yeah. We decided we're gonna put it to bed. We're gonna stop. We're gonna not do it anymore. How many ways can I say that? But it's our decision, you know, and it's kind of interesting that we chose to do it. But we've done an amazing amount of work. There's over like 1,600 interviews, a lot of different people, and basically me and Brendan, my producer, were like, look, you know, the world is ending, and we might as well enjoy some free time for the few months we're gonna have.
Yeah, that's so positive.
Yeah, I like to stay positive, Jimmy.
Of course, you are very positive. Look at some of these headlines, though, by the way. Saluting Marc Maron, a podcast pioneer who unlocked the gates. That's GQ.
Yeah.
New York Times, Marc Maron's podcast helped me see a creative future.
Yeah.
And look at this one. There will never be another WTF with Marc Maron.
Yes. Yeah. What's great about my show is about a third of the audience is like, maybe I should check that out.
That's going to be But you were there when it first began. I mean, you started out of your garage.
Yeah, it's funny when I started, because a lot of people in our business, no one knew what a podcast was, right?
No.
So when I told people, like, we're going to start a podcast, I'm just going to record it in my garage, people were like, oh, it's sad about Maron. I don't know, he's just doing something in his garage now, but at least he's busy, you know?
Yeah. But look, you had a sitting president in your garage.
This was when he was still president.
Yeah, Is that stressful? Stressful having Obama?
Is it stressful to have a sitting president come to your house and make him sit in there? Yeah, but it's kind of cool, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, because it was a big deal.
With the Secret Service and everything?
Oh, my, it was nuts, man. And I've said this a million times, but it was funny because I had this neighbor who was retired, and I had to ask him, I'm like, is it okay if we put snipers on your roof? And the guy was
like, neighbor ever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
What's wrong with your neighbor? He's having parties all the time.
Oh, he couldn't wait.
Oh, my guy is like, no. My neighbor's putting snipers on my roof.
It was intense, you know. I was nervous, but he was very disarming and immediately, you know, very connected. You know, he knew what we were doing. It wasn't a political show. We were going to have a conversation about his life. He actually spent a couple of years at the college pretty close to my house, so he kind of knew the neighborhood. But I remember when he got in there, before we started talking, I was like, you nervous about this? And he says, if I was nervous about this, we'd all be in trouble.
That's it. He's fast. He's good, right?
He's quick, man.
He's quick,
it was a big deal, not just for me, but I think for the medium of podcasting, because really, like you said, when we started, there weren't any. There was just not, there were a few, but it wasn't a popular medium. People didn't know how to get it. I don't think my mother still knows she doesn't know how to get it. I'm like, because you tell people, it's like, it's just on your phone. You get it like music. She's like, where? All right. Yeah. So, but
I remember, I know you as a comedian first, a great comedian. I used to watch you all the time performing at the Comedy Store, and I loved you. And then when you started the podcast, I loved you even more, and I felt like I got to know you a little more. I felt like you grew a lot.
Yeah, well, I think if you really listen to the podcast, like the first 100 episodes, it was just, you know, me having celebrities over to talk about my problems. And
kind of.
And I think that's how the style evolved.
Yeah.
But I think the primary component and the constant of the podcast is me and what I'm going through in my life. So that's the most important thing. And
you define the medium.
You know, how my cats are,
Yes, your cats.
why I broke up with my girlfriend.
Yes.
But people did get to know me to a point. It's a very real thing, parasocial relationships. I'm sure you know what that is. It's where people, like, there might be a couple in your audience who are like, I know Jimmy, you know, and yeah, but they don't know you at all, and they're going to be waiting outside your house. So
I know all of these people. They're my best friends. Not bad, right? I'm pretty good. I'm getting better.
That's very good.
Thanks.
That's some professional right there. So. No, but you do, and I do feel the weight of that, because after 16 years of people listening, and we were only an audio podcast, and I think that when it's audio, the intimacy of it and the relationship people have with you is very personal and it's very real. And I know there are a lot of people that are really counting on me to keep their sanity, and now they're just going to be nuts.
No, I think they'll find. But we will miss you on that end. But will we get to see more stand-up from you, more acting from you?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I have a special coming out later in the summer on HBO, and I did the movie, the Bruce Springsteen movie.
Oh my gosh, how was that? You got to tell me.
Yeah.
You know I love music.
Yeah.
We always talk music every time we talk.
But the funny thing is like there's a couple things. Like I interviewed Bruce, and you're probably friends with him because you're, you. But
no.
But I just remember, like, I love Bruce. Everybody loves Bruce. But, I still, I'm not a fanatic. So I go out to his house in Jersey. This is years ago. And it was, like, during Christmas time. And I'm waiting in this, like, he's got this little separate house for just his guitars, a motorcycle, and some other stuff. And
they have their own house.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever it is. So I'm sitting out there waiting for him. And I see him walking down from the house, and I'm like, all right, here he comes. Right, and he walks in. He doesn't really know me. He's not real sure what the show is. So I'm trying to break the ice, and I go, so what's going on with the house? A lot of Christmas craziness, cooking, wrapping presents and stuff? And he goes, correct. And I'm like, can I talk to that Bruce for the entire hour? The angry at the kind of like
correct.
Correct.
A lot of business is happening at that house. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, but I kept going, and we had a good conversation.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And years later, a friend of mine, Tal Wilkenfeld, the bass player, was talking to Bruce about doing press, for her album. And she goes, I don't know how to handle interviewers. And Bruce goes, oh, you just say what you want. Doesn't matter what they ask you. You tell them what you want to tell them. And then she says, my friend Marc Maron interviewed you, and he said, he pushed.
He pushed a little bit.
Yeah, correct.
But you do the Bruce Springsteen, I Cannot Wait with Jeremy Allen White is playing Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, and Jeremy Strong is playing his manager,
John Landau.
And I played Chuck Plotkin, who was the engineer on Nebraska and a longtime engineer of Bruce's. Oh. Now, the weird thing about this movie is I just shot an indie feature where I was the lead, and I was going to go do the Bruce movie, and I got just like 5 or 6 lines in the Bruce movie, so I was kind of I had a diva head, and I'm like, what am I even doing this for? I'm hardly doing anything in this movie.
Please.
But like, I took it a step further because I'm an idiot. I texted the director, and I'm like, is there much for me to do in this movie? And he's like, well, you don't have to do it. We'll do something else. I just thought it would be fun. And of course, I'm like, okay, you're right. Sorry, you're right. So, but it was
so you.
I know. I do that a lot. Or where you make a total mistake and lose your But anyway, so Plotkin, he's a pivotal character, and like we were in the same studio they did Nebraska in. Right? And the big acting thing I had to do is look like I knew how to operate that giant mixer.
Yeah.
Where you're listening. It's a lot of this. Here, I'll show you how to do it.
Ooh, wow. Oh my God. How did he? That's amazing.
Right, Quest? Am I right?
Unbelievable. That's
very convincing.
Holy
but here's
moly.
the funny thing. So Bruce and John, the real Bruce and John, are in Video Village. So they're right out there the whole time.
They came to the movie set.
They're there every day. So like in between takes, you can kind of just be like, hey, Bruce, So, but here's the funny thing is that this guy Plotkin, I couldn't find a lot of video on him, so I didn't know how I was gonna, if I got to play a guy and he's a real guy, you should know about the real guy.
Yeah.
Right? So I told Scott Cooper, the director, I said, there's not a lot of video on this guy, and he goes, don't worry about it, just make it your own and do it. And I'm like, all right. So the first scene where I'm really working those knobs. And I think I have like 2 lines, and then Scott goes, cut, and I go out to Video Village, and Bruce goes, you got it, you're Chuck. And I'm like, wow.
Let's wrap. We got that take.
Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, well, that's a coincidence. I guess he just came up through the board and inhabited me.
You got the spirit of.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Stick. This is a giant new series with Owen Wilson.
Oh
my God, one of the best out there.
Yeah, great.
I love that guy.
Great guy.
He's funny and he can act.
And people love him.
Yeah, they do.
They love him. Like we walk down the street in Canada, and I'm mid-level celebrity, but when you're with a big shot, you really feel it because like we're walking down, people are like, oh my God! I'm like, thank you. I'm like, oh, him. Yeah.
They're like, that's the guy that played Chuck Plotkin. do this, man. Yeah. But oh wow, it is amazing. I want to come back, please, for that film. But let's talk about Stick. It's about a golf. It's a golf series about.
That's what I'm told. It's.
You're in it. You're great.
Yeah, it's about a golfer who is kind of a washed-up guy. He's a pro golfer, a real big golfer, and like 20 years ago, he had a total meltdown at a major tournament and hit a guy and threw his clubs in the water and was kicked out of the guild or whatever. And I played.
Guild. Yeah.
The golf union.
Yes, a golf union.
So, and I play his old caddy.
Yep.
Who's been there, throughout all this stuff. But the 20 years since he lost the gig, he's kind of down on his luck. And I've had some tragedy in my life, and he has had some stuff in his life. And we're just basically a couple of beat up guys at about our age. So it's really good for me and Owen.
Do you know how to golf at all? Are you?
Don't push it, Jimmy.
Sorry.
So. No, I know about it.
Maybe do a little research on.
I did the research on the golf. I have nothing against golf, but when I read the script, I was like, this is about two guys. One guy who his whole life he's been supporting this other guy that in a way, emotionally and getting through life, and we're best friends, and we've both been through stuff, and that was the primary appeal of it. It's a very sweet and very deep relationship, and it's very funny, and the whole show is very moving. But yeah, I did look into golf. And I learned how to talk golf a bit. But as far as me playing golf, that has not really happened. And I know you play.
I do. I play a little bit.
Right? Yeah. And my buddy Nate, you play with Nate.
Yeah, with Bargatze. Yeah, he's actually really good. I'm terrible. I just go for the goose.
But that's why at this age, I get it. So let's say you're my age, you never golfed before, you go out, you hit one good drive, and then for the rest of your life, you're chasing that. Right? So people are like, well, you should get started. I'm like, I don't have the patience to suck at something just so I can get good enough to get on the little drivey thing with the other guys.
So what we're about to... Okay. I'll give you... yes, that's great.
They did send me clubs, though, and I'm pretty set. But then for me, I'm sort of like, well, then what do you got to set up a time? Is there a place to park over there?
No,
is there a guy? Huh?
You shouldn't have to worry about any of this stuff. That's why I love this, and that's why I love you, and that's why everyone should watch Stick on Apple TV Plus, because this is real acting. He has no idea about the sport. This is acting. That's what it is. That's the craft. Here's a clip. Here's Marc Maron and Owen Wilson in Stick. Take a look at this.
If he's going to make the final match at the U.S. Amateur, he's going to have to play 9 rounds at Eden Prairie over 7 days. He's not going to make it if every shot's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, I know.
He's got to learn how to control his emotions, all right? He casts at the top of his swing, which destroys his accuracy. Under pressure, that's just not going to cut it, man. So we got to fix that.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said under pressure, that's not going to cut it.
No, you said we.
I did?
You can't take that back. That was like Butch and Sundance we, like Thelma and Louise, like Turner and Hooch.
You know all those characters die, right?
No, they don't.
Yes.
Hooch lives.
No, Hooch takes a bullet and bleeds out at the end.
Oh, my God. Turner and Hooch spoilers. Marc Maron, everybody. That's how you do it. New episodes of Stick premiere Wednesdays on Apple TV+. We'll be right back with more Tonight Show. Stick around.